We are live from Valencia in Spain as we continue down the road for the round of 8. 2 series have been completed so far, and now we have 2 more to come. And they are absolute blinders of series as we have Snute going to be going up against Kelazhur and the all-important Neeb going up against Special down the line. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue things. I'm joined by Pig Dragon. Someone paint that for me. I want that tweeted at me. That would be fantastic. There to my left-hand side here, I'm Kelazhur, apparently, and I'm from Britain. So, gentlemen, we have coming up Kelazhur going up against Snute. Kelazhur goes from strength to strength with each WCS getting a round of 8 and then a round of 4. He's got my back.
Yeah.
And now, could he go further? What are we thinking?
I mean, you know, Kelazhur, we've known him as that cheesy guy a year or 2 ago. He's developed into a whole well-rounded player. He can macro, he can cheese. He still loves Reapers, still loves his cheeky drops. He's a great player, and he's been getting very good. And I think especially we saw him overpower Snute earlier in the year at Austin, I believe it was. And that was the classic matchup you see between these guys where Snute's very defensive, Kelazhur's very aggressive. Can he break the nut? Can he crack through Snute's defenses? Honestly, I think I'd actually favor him to be able to go through here.
Yeah, are we in that weird position where, as much as Snute used to be like one of the best foreigners of all time, and you know, still is one of the best foreigners of all time, are we at a position now where Kelazhur comes in as the favorite, Ravi?
I mean, it's so cool to just see this meteoric rise from Kelazhur, because like you were saying, he's just kind of come out of nowhere. 2016 really wasn't an amazing year for him. I mean, he got 2nd place at a smaller offline event called Kings of the North, but it was actually at the beginning of this year he was saying, he talked to his grandpa, and his grandpa said, you know, you just keep trying everything at 100% effort. You're putting everything into this. Try 80% effort. Don't put your everything on the line. He's like, huh, okay. And he started doing that, and he said he just started getting much better results because suddenly he didn't feel so invested. He said he was actually able to go spend time with friends and everything else, and it's just having a balanced life. Suddenly he's playing so much better. It's kind of weird how that works out, but ever since then, things are just going so well for Kelazhur. You can't deny the results.
It's a wholesome meme if I ever heard one. I like that a lot. So we're ready to check in with Sue, who's over at the stage, and we're ready for a TvZ.
Indeed, after 2 ZVs, I'm especially excited for this next Terran versus Zerg, as we have a Brazilian Terran hoping for back-to-back semifinals and a Norwegian Zerg hoping for his first top 4 of the year. Up next is Kelazhur and Snute.
All right, let's get down to business. Can Snute make it 3 for 4 for Zergs in the round of 4, or will Kelazhur conquer him here in TvZ? It's a whole different beast, really, is TvZ compared to some of the matchups that we've seen Kelazhur in, going up against Massa in just the previous round in that very, very close 3-2 series.
Oh, that last game in that series was so close. He barely inched by there, but I think that was a matchup which Kelazhur wasn't quite as comfortable in. He's definitely someone who's comfortable when he's aggressive. And if there's someone who's going to let him be aggressive, it's this man right here. It's Snute. We've seen a lot of Zergs recently go for Hydraling Bane, lots of Mutiling Bane before that. Snute doesn't care. No, he's just like, no way. I build Roaches, I build Ravages, I make Infestors, and it's all about precise, precise defense, using lots of Queens and going up to that Hive tech. So he's going to allow Kelazhur to attack him and try to absorb all of that. And that really does give a lot of momentum to Kelazhur. I think Snute puts a lot of burden on his shoulders. He needs to play very well to defend a fast player like Kelazhur.
What stands out to you coming into this series?
Well, I know that Snute has definitely expressed the feeling that he thinks that his ZVT is actually one of the best in the European scene. I mean, you kind of go about the European Terran players and you say, okay, well, there's Euthermal, there's maybe a few others, but it's really difficult. The one consistent thing is that whenever you talk with European players, it's hard to get good practice versus Terran players. But Snute just says, yeah, you know what? I feel really confident. I don't know where he gets the practice from, but he feels like it's one of his better matchups. And he was feeling pretty confident moving into this match versus Kelazhur.
How much does that result from Austin weigh on his mind here for Snute? Because, I mean, going up against someone like Kelazhur, I mean, it was quite a while ago. Has the landscape changed since then is what I'm trying to ask.
You know, for Snute, I don't think the Zerg vs Terran landscape has changed in like 15 months. Like, he's playing the exact same style.
Yeah.
He plays against every Terran as if they're the same. But you could see there was the actual quote from Snute was scrolling along the bottom of the screen before, and you could kind of see the pain even in the way that was written, where he's saying, I was so close to 3-0ing. He was up 2-0. He almost won the 3rd game. Kelazhur barely turned it around, and then he lost the series. So that's definitely something which will have left a mark on Snute, but he's not a player who's then going to be traumatized by that. That's something something which will fuel him. And I think he's going to go into this series taking Kelazhur very seriously, treating this like something where he really will work as hard as he can to win this.
I mean, let's not forget, Snute during this tournament has gone through a pretty crazy road. He beat Neeb, he beat Sortov, he beat Scala as well. So as much as, you know, we say that Snute has had a poor year, this has definitely been a great showing from him so far.
It's fantastic. Everyone has been just talking about at this tournament how on point Snute is. And Snute is that player that you always want to put all of your hopes into. And unfortunately, he's been disappointing people a lot of the time in the past. But this tournament, he is so on form, and he really does look like he's going to be at his strongest yet.
All right, well, I hear it's time to go over to our commentary team, time for our players to get things started. So without further ado, let's head over to them here for WCS Valencia.
And it is time for our Terran versus Zerg showdown. I love to break it down on the desk from Du Bois in control, talking about how Kelazhur has been on the up and up, but Snute is kind of playing a very, very similar ZVT style. He likes his roaches, he likes his ravagers, and his infestors.
Yep, and as Pig was saying, as a defensive player, not looking to do any kind of decisive big attacks to end the series or anything like that, he's just going to sit back and absorb it as an Asgardian would.
And it's time to find out. We are loaded into the first game of this best of 5. We'll be starting off with our blue Terran player in the top left position. He defeated Masi yesterday to get here. He is Kelazhur. Already overcame his nerves. He was pretty scared about going up against Masi yesterday. He was able to make his way here. He faces off against the red Zerg player in the bottom right, representing Team Liquid. He is Snute.
Fans out there, very good. Did you catch which grandmother Fear was talking about? Fear Dragon?
I think it was Kelazhur's.
Was it Kelazhur's grandma?
I thought it was Kelazhur's grandfather.
Grandfather? All right.
Touching story.
I just like this, like the story of dial it back, young man. Dial it back, give it less effort, and you shall achieve your greatest dreams. You don't see many movies where they say that.
Balance to everything. Yeah, exactly. Usually it's just like, no, go harder. Throw away your life. I see that you like to eat breakfast.
Give it everything.
Can you just IV some protein while you're playing even more instead of getting out of bed in the morning?
I think it's like the difference. It's very jarring. As an American, the idea of you're working too hard.
No.
Chill it. And it's like, for us, it's like, no.
No.
I see you sleeping at night.
That's only in Nicolas Cage movies. You need to work less and spend more time with your family.
Yeah.
No, not how it works in StarCraft.
It'd be more Liam Neeson. Rescue them from people.
Yeah, exactly.
Use your
So, tiny things to point out. Snute with that pool a bit quickly this game, not because he wants to cheese, but because Kelazhur is known to be a dirty, dirty Reaper cheeser. Those of you on the internet know, you Bass Reapers, everybody, you build your reputation.
Man, he must be really famous for it because we saw a lot of that in his TvT yesterday against Massa.
Massa opened up with a really weird 2-Rax Reaper just to be safe against
Defensive.
Defensive,
like blind
2-Rax
defensive, just trying to get ahead in the build. And here, Snute doing the same thing. It's a little bit different in this matchup, though. That pool first, obviously not mega ideal. He would like to expand, first and then do the pool, but it really only has this window of time where it affects you, and then beyond that, it actually equalizes and is totally normal. Yeah. And that window of time, more often than not, comes and goes unless that cheese is happening. Getting a couple lings in here, though, can be annoying.
This is one of the ways that you can still kind of get something back if you can delay that expansion. Having the other SCV down here is really nice because he should be able to pick this one off, and he does, but doesn't delay it too long. It really does say a lot, though, when the build is so strong that just being scared that someone will do it kind of influences your whole opening to begin with. But Kelazhur is basically doing a very standard 2-1-1. He's going to rush up to Stim, 16 Marines, 2 Medevacs, and just try to go across the map. Maybe he'll squeeze in a Widowmine with it.
Yep.
So this looks to be a very standard opening from both players. I expect that Snute will, when he kind of sniffs this out, just take his third base, and your focus there is to defend your third, grab your fourth while that big Stim push comes, which is a couple minutes away at this point.
Thank you, Nate. Forecasting the next 5 to 10 minutes.
I just stole. We got nothing to talk. We got a couple minutes to just kind of talk about anything now.
We got time.
Yeah.
Talk about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I like it. You're showing off your brain power in this matchup. I don't mind it. Snute, though, there's a interesting thing to watch in a best of 5. There's a lot of mentality at play. We are heading into the deepest levels of this tournament.
Yes.
The WCS points are becoming rarer and harder to come by. Snute and Kelazhur are on the chopping block. Neither of these guys are guaranteed to make their way to the WCS Global Finals, so these are big tournaments. And I like seeing in this best of 5, the first map, some people go crazy, they'll mega cheese because they're like, I want you to think about that for the rest of the series, win or lose, I don't care, it's just a nice mental game. Other players will take the other end of the spectrum, which is what we're seeing here, where they're like, nope, this is my cookie cutter build. When I ladder, this is what I do 8 times out of 10, if not more. And I want to see what you're going to do. I want to see if you blink first. Both these players so far, though, not blinking.
Nope. The only thing that's worth pointing out is that, you know, Snute did slow down his opportunity a little bit by playing with the 3-rack sweeper in mind. We see that Roach Horn coming in with the 2 evolution chambers. This is where things get crazy, because if you're not using anything like Banelings, you're basically saying, I think with just Speedlings and Queens, I can defend against what this, you know, this 2-on-1 will be. It's hard to get out a lot of Roaches to deal with it, but the Medivacs are already on their way. Stim is very close to finishing, so he's just gonna try to play this extremely straight up. And the nice thing about it is, since they didn't go for the cheese this game, Snute has to be careful about letting his guard down in the later maps.
Yeah.
Abyssal Reef is a very good standard map for both races. I'd say that as a Terran player, you like playing on it versus Zerg, but here's this attack. Extremely sharp. Stim is done. He's ready to rock and roll, and there's nothing here. There's nothing here in control.
Wow, the hard choice is being made. He's actually going to immediately pull the drones. The hatchery is being worked on. Yes, there's a couple of lings in that base, but this is where it's at. 2 queens die for free, so the hatch dies as well.
Oh, God.
Snute just...
There's not even any roaches here. You can just come up and kill. These drones are all dead. Kelazhur just smacked him with this 2-on-1.
And this is... So for our more casual audience, to give you an idea, this is about as standard as it gets in terms of an opening. There's no like surprise here, so it's just Snute out of position, just a little bit not handling this very well, losing the 2 queens for free, and now losing everything with all the drones that died as well. Kelazhur is devastating.
Kelazhur did the most standard build that you could basically do versus Zerg, especially since the boys on the desk said it. Snute's been playing the same ZVT for the last 15 months.
Yeah.
This build was like the plague 15 months ago. You'd think with enough time, this wouldn't be
like
so
a boxing
devastating.
match. He's like, oh, he didn't expect the jab. What?
There are people that use their fists. Like, what?
Oh my God.
So,
but yeah.
Well, this worked about as well as you could have possibly hoped for Kelazhur. I mean, the third base is a bit slower, but he's got his 1-1 coming. He's got his armory on the way. And the wind is out of the sails of Snute. He can retake the third, but he's just now getting his lair. So those roaches, not like he can go back across the map because he's got slow roaches. There's not much to be done with what he has. So Kelazhur is just going to wind up, try to do a little bit of drop harass. It shouldn't be as easy at this point, but yeah, I'd say the momentum of this game is 100% in Kelazhur's favor. If he keeps up the aggression, if he can keep striking where Snute is not prepared, it's going to be a very difficult game for our Norwegian Zerg.
Yeah, Pig was talking about how the defense of Snute's going to have to be top-notch. Well, it's just been made that much more difficult. These Marines show up, and without that kind of giant queen base, the threat to the Medivacs is limited. And of course, that's one of the best ways to make sure that they don't just drop you forever. You can see one of the Medivacs is already at about half health. Imagine if there's 5 or 6 more queens able to actually threaten that if it shows up a little bit too far.
A lot of that defensive capability has been removed from the field. So Medivac is coming over towards the natural expansion. He's going to drop there while he still has these forces outside the third. So he's basically going for a very standard kind of pull apart, distract him. Already gets 2 of the drones in the natural. The rest of them have to be pulled away. The gas mining drones are going to be killed. And as he pulls units over there, these Marines are ready to rock and roll. With even upgrades, they can trade against the roaches to a certain degree, making this even more difficult for Snute, just getting pushed further and further behind.
And everywhere he shows up, there's no queens there where there normally would be had he not taken such a bad fight earlier.
Yeah.
More drones going to die inside the main. Roaches are very poor at running down these Marines. They will eventually trade them out, and you'll notice, I think it's also interesting if you look down at like the supply and that kind of stuff, it's actually fairly similar. But it's really, really bad for Zerg positionally. Losing those queens again means that they can't threaten the drops. They're having a tougher time pushing out. But also, it's about now that Snute wants to be taking a 4th base. He wants to have a mega robust economy because he's not able to threaten or attack with these slow roaches and having a huge queen base. But he needs to have a locked down base corner, and he doesn't have that.
I mean, this game, his drones have been dying in droves. He's down 10 workers to a Kelazhur that's on 3 bases, has siege tank production going at home, which is going to allow him to keep throwing these Marines away while being able to defend against a big Roach Ravager counterattack, and presumably Infestors, which Snute will go for. He has the Infestation Pit on the field. So everything's just been going very well for him. Maybe the +2 armor upgrade's a little late if I was going to try to call it mistakes of Kelazhur, but that's That's pretty mild right
Yeah.
now, I would say.
Even there, you can see on the flip side, one of the evolution chambers for Snute's not being used, and it's the kind of mistake or error that's forced for a number of reasons. One, maybe because he's just so preoccupied with
He's
all his
not
harass.
getting +2 attack for his roaches.
Yeah, or all the damage he's actually taken makes it hard to afford it even.
Yep. He's getting another factory back home, +1 vehicle attack. You can see in the resources lost, you know, he's definitely been getting the better end of these trades.
He might just end it.
I think this attack could do it.
Yeah, he's just, you know, normally he'd just be like, yeah, I'll use this to take my 4th. He's like, well, you're actually such, you know, it's your old Yeller. You're over there just wounded. It's time to put the Mercy Bullet in there.
Take Snute out behind Abyssal Reef and just, you know. He's got 4 infestors on the way, but no pathogen glands in control, so he's not going to have any fungals.
Yeah.
It's like maybe throw a couple pathetic infested Terrans at him. But,
well, that's the norm, but it's just that the norm has suddenly become subpar for Snute. Yeah. He's just behind in ways that he normally wouldn't be.
He was very far behind earlier in this game,
yeah.
And with 3 siege tanks and the lack of that +2 attack upgrade, like just punching through this army is borderline impossible. He needs perfect Ravagers spam. He needs fungals.
Could get a good fungal.
He still doesn't have quite yet. He's getting close to that energy count on the infestors that he built, but well, not really. They're like 56 energy, so.
I think they haven't been revealed yet, so that's the one thing he's kind of got going for him. You'll notice that Kelazhur's army is very bunched up. It's obviously, I mean, it's retreating right now, but even when it pushed forward, it was bunched up. That'll change when he's aware of infestors. He'll start to pre-split and kind of not allow for a mega fungal. But I think there is a moment where Snute's going to have this mega fungal opportunity. With a couple of corrosive biles, he could swap out that army pretty quick, and that gets devastating.
Yeah, big things for him to do. Kelazhur in this phase of the game, which he's kind of working on him. He's got his 4th base finishing up. He didn't press the issue with that attack. He's going to run out here and just fight him dead center, get the fungal and a lot of bile. So Snute kind of just grabbing him out on the map. But there's still a lot of bile here to fight. He's running out of energy on the infestors. I guess he's just trying to seize this opportunity and jump him as these 2 medevacs full of units are in the natural of Snute. Not a whole lot here to defend against this.
Yeah, and that's going to be the problem. This Warcaller working on the medevacs, so this will be a bit of a tax here for Kelazhur, but so much damage done. And again, we kind of keep taking it back to the early stages where normally a drop like that wouldn't have been the best trade per se, but because, again, Snute is trailing, it's just that little bit of a thorn in his side. That being said, Snute does take his 4th base. The concern being that, yes, they fought and traded out in the middle of the map, but because it was a bit of a trade, he's not able to push in for pay dirt. He needs to be able to stop or threaten one of Kelazhur's bases. Otherwise, those trades are favorable to the Terran.
Definitely a nice play to kind of grab the army like that and help reset the siege tank count.
Yeah.
But as a Zerg player, it's like, okay, where am I now after this? I'm on even bases against a Terran player that has 3-3 halfway done. And that's not enough. You have to be, he has to get 1 or 2 more of these really good fights. If he could jump the army like he did before out in the open, that'll be big. Knocking down this planetary would be huge. He only has 1 siege tank to defend, a couple biles on that, and he could dive on this.
And he sees it, the 1 tank's just not enough. There's so many Ravagers behind this. They're actually going to go ahead and level some of that bile. Working on the planetary, working on the SDBs. He does! Huge. Yeah! Come on!
That fungal.
It's so close. Okay,
all
gets
over the
it
Marines
finally.
Marauders. Beautiful play here by Snute, really capitalizing on those tanks that he was able to kill earlier since he just didn't have enough to push that back. The drop's back inside of his base, but he's going to get these other siege tanks right outside the 3rd as well.
Really close fight over here. He does kill the 4th and even thinks he can push further into that. The drop chips, the medevacs, do drop off these units. The Queens are good tanking, buying time. They actually get the medevacs there as well. But there's just so much at stake on both sides. Kelazhur cannot lose this 3rd base. That's the majority of his income.
Wow.
His army's really dwindling here, but Snute's not able to reinforce super well. You can see on that mini-map, it's kind of wavering back and forth because it has to go home and clean up the harass.
This game has just slipped so far out of Kelazhur's grasp. Everything looks so good, and then his army outside of the natural down that ramp, he's like, okay, I'm just kind of being out of the map and doing whatever. Just gets jumped by those Roach Ravagers. The fungal hit all of his medevacs and his siege tanks, and everything was reset. And suddenly we have Snute, who's taken full control of this game and has the ability to get a lot of damage done. With these Ravagers, once again, the tanks aren't super far forward. He could push this back. At least he can lift it off because it's not a planetary.
It is a flyer. He's got a double medevac. Moving on the right side, it is spotted by the creep, though, so there should be a bit of a response. And he's going to come back over here. This is the 4th base, which is the 4th of just 4 bases. I know that sounds really weird, but the point I'm trying to make is that Snute is actually 1 base away from being in a little bit of trouble himself. He is going to lose that 4th base. Can he get the units out of here? He picks up, backs away, no fungals here, so he can continue to harass that way. Yeah. And Snute did pull full ahead, but I mean, if the tank count can get pretty high,
that's what
if
matters.
he has a bad attack, all of a sudden it flips the other way.
With the low economy that this game is in, even though he's got the Hive, he can't really do more than try to squeeze out a couple of, like, maybe 1 or 2 Vipers to use against the tanks. Because outside of that, the only other thing that's going to break a high tank count that you just mentioned would be something like Broodlords, which is completely off the table right now. His tanks are also not in position to deal with this.
Yeah, you gotta wake up, Kelazhur.
Move up into the natural. Yeah, wake up.
He's got like 6 Marines, but we'll take care of this, guys. Don't worry. Okay, there goes the rest of the force.
He kills the depots. Oh, wait, there's a guy here? Yeah. His 3-3 being done definitely opens things up if he can fight with the tank.
Yeah.
Like his bio will destroy the roaches, or at least they should. And that delayed 4th, again, for Snute, just reeling from that.
That one hurt, and that's why Kelazhur is in this game. You can see the supply differential kind of closing. He also, we did get a good shot of that from our wonderful observer showing that it's the main base that floated over the 4th.
He does not have a 4th command center.
It's not like he has 5 orbitals dropping mules for days, just pulling in the money. This is desperate times for him.
Yeah. Losing that base would be catastrophic, but...
Catastrophic.
Got him.
Does that work?
That works.
Not really.
I'll take it.
All right, we'll take it,
I'll
though.
take it.
Whoa!
Right in the face.
Keep it out of the grill.
So there's the Spire on the way, and as I was saying, like, okay, Broodlords can be a way to break
He'll
these
make
high
his
tank
way.
counts, but if he is able to get up to Broodlords, I mean, it's going to be a handful, and the whole game's going to be on that, because he does not have the money to be building giant maxed out armies of tons and tons of Broodlords. This could be devastating again, though, because these infestors burrowed in the back.
Does he has the energy, he's just not...
He's
dodged it.
Noise.
Wow.
He did
Dodgeball champion 2017. There's the drop behind that 3rd base. Most of the army for Snute is out on the map. Unfortunately, they're targeting the queen. I mean, they're going to go after the queen. Now the spawning pool inside the main as well. A little bit of distraction for us. Going to pick up and pull back. Only a couple drones dead, so not huge damage. But meanwhile, there's an engagement in the middle map. Pushes forward. It is the big corrosive bile, but he jumps on top of the Ravage. Not a whole lot of insulation, but good fungal does mean the bile is going to get thinned out there in a bit of a trade.
He can't push back into that because he does still have the siege tanks. Quite a few of them behind here. This is more than enough to completely obliterate the Zerg army if he's able to get a couple of shots off. But the Spire's done. He has to rebuild the spawning pool, sadly enough. So,
okay,
you're not going to be able to do it. Like, mutas aren't an option at this point. Yeah, it's
no.
going to be straight to the Greater Spire. He will try to use Broodlords to get these tanks to kill all of the Marines for him.
Took the whole army to 2-shot that one Marine. Love it. They're getting pretty strong. A nice counterattack over here from Snute, though. He's going to show up at that 3rd base, and it is just that orbital.
There's not a whole lot here to fight against this right now.
He needs to watch the health on it.
Yeah, killing that orbital is really big. The mules, he needs that economy so bad. I think he should be able to smack it down.
Dunked it. Dunked it. That's a dead orbital. Mark it.
Now he's...
Scored a 6.
Now he's just got the natural floated over to that pocket base on the bottom.
This is really bad for Kelazhur.
Losing this is like almost game over. He doesn't have anything else to really supplement an economy with. He's going to pull these SCVs off to fight. His whole army's been stretched on the right side. Look, all those tanks are still sieged. He's just not been reacting with the
Kelazhur's a fast player, but the tanks have kind of weighed him down. He's doing this like slow push to the right side of the map, but he needs to make this worth something. The Greater Spire's about to finish. There are no Corruptors out just yet, so again, like you were saying, the Broodlord's not a huge threat, but these counterattacks have done so much damage. You gotta do something, Kelazhur.
He's just been sitting sieged out on the map at the edge of creep, like, hey, don't attack where I don't have anything, which is everywhere else. And because of that, he's like, okay, well, now I'm just gonna kill everything that's over at your only mining base that has fresh resources on it. This push from Kelazhur has been way too slow.
Way too slow.
He either needed to come back immediately after he realized he couldn't push, or he had to force the issue because, as you said, the Greater Spire is done. As soon as he trades out some supply, he has more than enough resources to go into Broodlords. And in fact, he's just going to take this fight against the army,
he's
go for
cornered
360-degree surround.
There's no fungals, but the corrosive biles are landing pretty decently. Kelazhur's fighting for his life. He's trying to dodge what he can, but sometimes the medevacs pick it up. Meanwhile, behind this, he's down to 19 workers, so he's just not able to hold on to the base. Maybe a little bit of this bio survives. He'll go into that 4th base, but when there's so much damage behind it, I'm really worried for him. He's going to make a push of it, though. He's just rallying out that bio.
And this game is so nuts because he's like, okay, well, turn the rest of those resources that could have been into Broodlords straight into more Ravagers. Killing this base. The mains mined out, the naturals mined out, the 3rd just about mined out.
He doesn't heal it.
This is all Snoot's money. His income is going to plummet down just about as low as Kelazhur's here. He needs the Ravagers to get some big shots off on this bio, but with the medevacs healing and without a lot of roaches to tank, Kelazhur can actually still kill off the majority of these forces.
He's standing here fighting the Marauders, doing so much damage. He's going to pull back now for a speedy retreat. There are a lot of Ravagers. The Queens have used up a lot of their energy. And now it becomes an interesting situation where the Terran's the one that's able to drop those mules and kind of resupply off of low worker count with just 19 SCVs. And Snute's been put in this weird spot where now he's got like a dead Greater Spire tech for right now because that is his mining.
Yep, all he can
out
do.
His main natural and 3rd, I believe.
All he can do is just mine long distance off of that 4th. He's got 3 very low mineral patches at his 3rd. If Kelazhur can keep a little bit of time. That mineral income, having that fresh base is so big. Sadly, like we said earlier, he lost orbital commands from his previous bases, so he's not dropping a lot of mules. He's got a 2-base economy, basically, or if you can call it that.
I like this from Snute, though. When you do have the situation where minerals are hard to come by, going back to the Infestors is really good. They're kind of all-purpose units. They can grab medevacs, they can slow down bio, and they, of course, synergize really well with Ravager, so good choice there. This is still Snute's game to lose. He's in a really good position in terms of army strength and probably tech, I would say, because it is just bio. We're not going to see tanks for a while here coming out of Kelazhur.
It has been a bloodbath. Kelazhur down about 2,000 in resources lost, but they are still quite close at this point in a relative sense. So 1 or 2 of these fights could swing things very heavily. Can be deceiving if those Ravagers get caught without the roaches in front of them, without the fungal growth. The Marines and Marauders will rip them apart very quickly.
This drop does get spotted by the ever-watching Overlords. Now, there has been a moment of time here. I believe we have a couple of Corruptors out, and then it's...
not yet.
Not at all. But he can start... I mean, if he gets that base...
It's an option. If he can just get a little bit of money, it's a very powerful option. The only thing to note, though, is because he killed so many of the tanks, and Kelazhur's so broke, he actually can't build more. So it actually makes the Broodlord slightly worse of a choice because his army is becoming more Marine Marauder heavy, which means just get the fungals.
Just on Abyssal, excuse me, the bases are kind of consolidated, so the Broodlords can defend really well. But I guess
that's true. A lot of
it's not as much of an issue for Snute.
There's a lot of cliffs to work around. And this is also another issue we're going to talk about as he starts to clean up some of these queens, or try, is...
You'll have to scan for them.
Yeah, having to scan is also a lot more rough than it would be in any normal circumstance because he only has 2 orbitals. So those Corruptors are coming out that you were talking about. The Broodlords will be out soon, and he just needs to stall, buy time, force him to dive, and then just throw out those fungals and biles.
I almost wonder if Snute's over-respecting the 2 tanks. I mean, that's just me. I'm a little bit more of the kind of aggressive type of person, but like... 2 tanks don't deter this army at this stage. He's at 3/3 upgrades. They both are. And I feel like his fungals are so strong against... It's a mostly Marine army, too. Like, you can't even afford that many Marauders.
This, I mean, this is just Snute, though, right? Like, Snute, even if he's ahead, he'll still drag out games.
Zerg.
Yeah, he'll still drag games out because he's like, well, I could attack. Maybe there's a 2% chance I lose. So Broodlords, there's no way he's building Vikings. He is way too broke for that. So
and Kelazhur's been the one tunnel vision a little bit. Like, he just has this base, he's rebuilt some SCVs, and is not thinking about another expansion because to him, this game could end in any 30-second window of time. Whereas for Snute, he has taken the next expansion, so all of a sudden his economy is pretty darn good. Still just the 47 workers, but at this point in time with the other 3 bases mined out, that's not that big of a deal.
That middle base is huge. I think he just...
13.
He's got nothing. He's broke.
Kelazhur, we actually could have shown you guys that, but chose that it was too violent, so we didn't show it.
Yeah, that siege tank's being disrespectfully decommissioned for firing at those infested Terrans all over his own work.
And here's the big drop. I mean, and for Kelazhur, I mean, this is how he got here, is off these drops, but unfortunately for him, it's a different world right now. If he stands here for too long, that's what that scan's about. It's like, hey, is there fungal coming? All right, well, I'm out of here. And he didn't really accomplish anything. He killed an empty gas.
Nope.
Big
he can't
deal.
afford to replace those 4 Marines that died there either. And
he could lose more, by the way.
Snute can max out whenever he wants. He can spam out just another big-ass wave of roaches. He will be in more than good enough position to overwhelm and swarm over this army.
Nope. Corruptors, lazy. But it's all about this middle fight. And
he's going to run into Broodlords, smack dab into him. And it's like, okay, Stim, try to run into the Broodlords.
Can't do it.
Fungal growth, corrosive bile. So all he can do is unsiege the tanks, and that means the Infestors can just go forward, drop those fungals, and kill them anyway.
Look at these supplies. Snute way ahead, just about 100 here. It's going to be all this. Kelazhur's not expanding behind it. Yes, he picks off that fresh base over there, but it's all about this army right here, and I'm just waiting for the fungals. He's been scanning. But how many scans does he have, Nathanius?
The one I'm broke Viking, as he has now, well, probably no scans at this point. He's been trying to drop the mules all game. I think we're going to see Snute pick up this first game. I don't see how Kelazhur's going to be able to break through this and deal with the next wave that could come out. Here's the push for it. He gets underneath one of the Broodlords.
Why is Snute retreating?
The Broodlings, as soon as the attack hits the Marines, the siege tanks are shooting at his own units. Kelazhur killing his own army. Yeah, he kills this base, but now Snute still has that center pocket base.
Snute is literally doubling him in army supply and is like backing off to another base. This level of patience you haven't seen from, I mean, this is like generational sniper in the woods kind of stuff. Like they've been waiting for hundreds of years.
He could take the shot to kill him, but he's like, I'd rather starve him out because we're in the middle of the woods. I've got a couple more rations.
Yeah,
Even-
at least.
yeah.
I could eat off these raccoons for like
Yeah,
6 more months, probably.
He doesn't mind living off of tree bark while his opponent starves to death instead of just killing
It's
him.
like, look, I know I'm up 150 supply, but like, what if I was up 250 supply?
Yeah. He wants to wait until he can build 20 spore crawlers,
Yeah.
make another wave of roaches, and then go up to 215 supply, and then maybe consider taking another base
Yeah.
before attacking.
And here's Snute just sharking around lower hand. I get it. His Broodlord count was only like 3 or 4. It's just that
Jeff, if you were streaming,
people be yelling at me.
this game is awesome because you're like, guys, it's so hard to
Yeah.
lose from this position, so why not just drag it out a little bit and feel like a god, you know?
I've only heard of games like that. For me personally, it's been a bit of a struggle every way.
Yep.
My favorite part too, to illustrate how tough this is for Kelazhur, he's done this a few times. He loads up the drop, moves, doesn't see anything, and is like, no, forget it. That's not a good idea. Then he goes the other direction, loads up the drop, stops, is like, no,
Here
I
we
can't
go.
there
By the
either.
way, this is going to happen again. Throws out the fungals, wait for them to go out, and then, oh no,
The
in
words of
control.
Pig. Yeah.
Very painful.
This would be one of those
loss.
weird things where Kelazhur just GG's. He's like, all right,
He's got
if
5
you won't do it, I will.
He's got 5 workers.
Oh my God. Okay, here we go. It's the final push.
And into the blender, we throw our army as
Does
he gets
Snute-
ready to try and make this attack.
Snoot's like, no, I need more spine crawlers. One of
Fall
the
back.
attacks. Oh my
Fall
God.
back.
He's got tanks back there, dude. And here we go. He's going to push forward. Maybe Snute gets the memo. Is it time? No.
This army needs to be at least 3 times as big. Look, he's got the 1 infestor. He's like, gotta wait for energy. I need to throw 1 infested
Oh my
tank in,
God, Snute.
and now I'm ready to engage. Now we're ready to go. No, not yet. Pump the brakes.
He's going to pull up the Broodlords.
Keep that spore crawler alive. He's transfusing the spore crawler.
This is like the final moments of the movie Braveheart, which nobody likes. Nobody talks about it because it's just the British slamming the Scottish all over the
All
place.
right, so he's gonna push in. This is it. He has to take this fight.
Someone
Now
called Snute.
finally uses his army and just kills everything.
Wow. Oh, okay. He did win
GG.
that. He did win that. Oh, interesting.
And Snute takes game
Snute
number
can't
1.
believe it.
Well, that's like one of those victories that's not only
Wow.
painful for your opponent, but that's also probably painful for him too. The look on his face says everything.
It's like a football game where it's like Tom Brady and the Patriots won 63-3. Where Tom Brady's like, man, what a game, right? Holy cow.
We were up 50.
Look at him.
We were up 56-3, and I said, we need at least one more. One more.
Snute looks like he survived something really traumatic. It's like, yeah, the game was close like 20 minutes ago.
It's a game that game was painful for both the loser and the winner in control. But he did take that Abyssal Reef, a very important map. I think it's considered to be pretty fair
Yeah.
on both sides, and also one
No,
of
he came back. That's the big part
Yeah.
there. Snute is a mental player, so a lot of times if there is something that goes wrong, he can start to kind of pile in on himself. It does happen even inside of a series, but that was really strong play. He fell way behind, make no mistake, but then he made all the right calls to get back into it and then maintain the lead. I mean, our jokes aside, he's a safe player that plays comfortably from that point.
And I agree with you there that it does make some sense considering he was behind at the start of the game.
Yeah.
I think that Kelazhur had an amazing opening, and it really was just very awkward that those 4 infestors that were like just too late to defend the 4th base when he
Yeah.
canceled it, and then Kelazhur makes the smart choice, like, I killed the 4th, I don't need to press it, this might be the only way I could lose. But his army's just out in the open, and then those infestors show up, and they do get those fungals. His army's super clumped because he's not looking at it. He's taking the 4th base. He's turning that planetary, and then once that army's dead, all the tanks are going. He's like, okay, well, I'll just drop 40 corrosive bombs on this planetary fortress.
Yeah.
And now Kelazhur's also broke.
Well, we might have a momentary pause. We can't talk about too many trade secrets because Kelazhur does have the noise-canceling headphone off. So we're going to see what's going on here. He does have to put that on, Kelazhur. You sly man, you. I know what you're trying to do. You're like,
I know he
tell me
plays-
how to win, Jeff, but I can't. Kelazhur, I can't help you.
He wants more of that voice pack experience,
Oh, the Nathanius voice pack.
Yeah, exactly.
That could help
Hear
too.
the rest of the lines, Your SCVs didn't sign up to fight as they all horribly, painfully die to
Yes.
roaches and ravagers.
I'm just kind of waiting here.
Next map is
Check Team Liquid real quick.
Odyssey. Odyssey is the next map.
Mm-hmm.
Another pretty straightforward one. I wouldn't put it very high up on the list of maps that Mass Reaper's great on. So I wouldn't expect to see.
Well,
Anything
so what
crazy
we
here?
take away from that first game, Nathanius, is that Snoot's waiting for it. I personally,
Yeah.
if I'm Kelazhur, I look at that last game and go, all right, look, the defense at the 4th, where you kind of push through with the Ravager and Roaches, that's unfortunate. I feel like I could make a couple of slight adjustments and be comfortable, because everything Kelazhur did before that put Snute in a really hard spot. 16 Marines, like that opening.
His 2-on-1
so basic, it wrecked him.
The 2-on-1 went as well as it.
Yeah.
That's all you could ask for. If you're like, hey man, if you do a 2-on-1 and you only kill the 3rd and 7 drones and 4 queens, is that all right? It's like, please sign me up for another.
Well, guys, there's a lot going on today. We have I would still call it the marquee matchup coming up next. We've got Special taking on Neeb. Cyril with the biggest upset of the tournament so far, losing to Truce. The top end of the bracket's been shaken up. We also have a really special presentation coming up at the end of the day, before the finals, I believe it is. We're going to talk about their war chest. Is that the term?
The war chest.
I wanted to say battle, but it's war.
It's
the war chests.
That's right. As the endless war of StarCraft.
A lot of rumors swirling around it. There's some believe that a small essence of Mike Morheim himself could be in each and every one of the chests.
Feel the magic of StarCraft.
That.
Feel the magic of StarCraft. We are counting down into Game 2 of this best of 5 on Odyssey. Ooh, hopefully you guys are enjoying this. That first game, bit of a slugfest there.
Yeah.
Kelazhur.
That last fight really took it out of Snute there.
I like you bringing things back to reality, though, with talking about how that game started off. Kelazhur doesn't actually need to make big changes.
No.
He just needs to not let his whole entire army get fungled and slammed by Bile after he kills the 4th and puts himself a mile ahead or kilometers ahead.
Agreed.
We are loaded in the top left position. The blue Terran player going for a bit of a throw in Game 1. Can he recover in Game 2? He is Kelazhur. Kid's had a great story this year, picking up his best performances in Premier tournaments ever against this guy who not quite living up to the reputation of being a European champion that we know him to have. In the Southeast, the Red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute.
Yeah, in a very weird and different way, I see these guys in a similar situation. Kelazhur, we've been hyping him up. He's had some really great performances, but to be honest, in the 3 WCS tournaments, he's hit that brick wall. He's hit someone that's just been like, nope, it's not your time, and he's gone away. And then the next tournament comes up and we say the same thing. We're like, oh, well, Kelazhur's really good. Maybe it's now. For Snute, we saw the prize earnings earlier. It's over $300,000.
Yeah.
One of the most decorated non-Koreans. But as of this year and a little bit of last year, it hasn't felt like it's been the Snute show. He's been sharing the spotlight. And I would even say slipping just below. He's like the creepy guy just outside that spotlight, wanting it.
That's the sad reality of how competitive things have gotten from the other players in the non-Korean competition.
Yes.
You have players
Which is great.
Yeah, exactly. You have players like Neeb who have taken that spotlight, players like Cyril, who, as we were just talking about, gets
Showtime
upset
last year.
Showtime
Laser.
last year. A Laser as well. Nerchio, who stepped it up quite a bit. So it's not it's not the Snute show that it used to be. It's not Snute versus Bunny in the semis of every single tournament.
Which will be fun, too, because we have GSL versus the World coming up, and that's on the discussion of Snute. That's actually one of the places he really shined. I believe it was last year as well. It was that similar tournament where Snute actually beat like 6 or 7 Koreans. So really cool stuff. There's a lot of great StarCraft happening. This game as well has been a standard opening, and Nathaniel and I talked about this, and I actually really like that from Kelazhur. Sometimes Kelazhur will go wonky and crazy, but the intel he got from Game 1 was my standard stuff's good enough for the most part, and Snute's waiting and ready for my cheesy stuff. So I kind of like this from Kelazhur.
Yeah, because Snute went pool first again this game, and Kelazhur opened up with 2 Marines. He's basically like a reactor Hellion expand is what it looks like. He's just, Marines, maybe kill an Overlord. This SCV gets poked because the Marines were out trying to find that Overlord, but he's going for a Reactor Hellion build. Yeah. So we're likely to see, and this is a nice little mix-up because Snute might be thinking about that 2-on-1 again. It's like, well, it went so well last game, why not do it? But he's got a lot of options with this. We saw Special bust out a little bit of the Hellion with the Mind Drop that run by, and you could turn that into a mech build if you want. Hellion Cyclone has been pretty popular in Korea. But you can also just do the 4 Hellion Elevator is still in play. You can go for a Hellbat attack with a couple of Marines churned out here. There's a lot of different
covering all the
ways
bases right now, Nathaniel.
Yeah. I love Reactor Hellion opening.
I feel like you're a really enthused Terran commentator. Do you get excited about it?
I do. I get excited about Hellion openings.
I like it too, man.
I like these builds.
Don't listen. Dance, all right? When someone says, do you get excited about it, just dance, Nate.
There's no camera on us at the cast.
You are dancing. That's a beautiful dance you got going right there.
Breaking it down.
Creep Tumor does get picked up here, not the biggest of deals. The first couple of Hellions, though, does the Zerg know exactly what's coming, Nate?
No.
No? This could be, it could be anything for right now?
Yeah, from the Hellion build, it could still pretty much be anything, because you see a lot of these different attacks come up, but the Lings go for the counter. He wants to see what's up. He gets inside main barely. So no Tech Lab is a nice tell. He shouldn't be expecting Ravens or Banshees, but you have to be wary of a medevac follow-up.
No,
Hellbats.
It's the Hellbats, bruh. And that's scary. From what we can see right now, it's a Baneling nest going down, more Lings. I don't know that Snute's totally picked up on it. I mean, Banelings are okay. Some people would throw down the Roach Warren. I guess it's just going to say a lot of Queens, Ling, Baneling. That is adequate. The third base is not far off from the natural, so it's fairly defensible. Connected by creep, that is something that we used to see be a big point of emphasis when this kind of opening was all the rage. It was if I can cut off the creep between the natural and third, then all of a sudden this Queen's waltzing over there take a lot longer.
Yep. So this Viking comes out. It's going to try to hit on this Overlord. The Lings want to go for a run by since the wall's not done, but the Hellions being kept at home. After the medevac's done, he follows it up with the Liberator, and this should be getting a little bit more clear now. Since you didn't see a Tech Lab, it's like, what else could it be? If you're building this many Hellions, you're not going to drop them all.
Oh, I love this timing. I didn't see the Marines getting produced like that as well.
Yep. He's building them one at a time.
Oh. Transform. And there they go. And there's a lot of Queens here. Good spread. He is putting down this 4-color to try and work against the medevac and to fall back. Just trying to buy time is Snute because time is on his side. Does get a connection there with that Baneling. It's working against a couple of the Hellions in the background. Edging out 1-2. A good spread here. I think this is a great defense.
Very solid defense here so far out of Snute, using all of those Queens very spread out against the Hellbats and just buying time for those Banelings to finish up and take those big chunks of health out of him. So he defends the third base. You could say that the loss here for Snute is that he wasn't building drones during this time, but now we see he's got 10 on the way.
Yep.
The third command center has only just started for Kelazhur, and Stim has only just started.
No,
so he can't do
win.
anything anymore. He could have that Viking out of the map, but that's about it.
Big win for Snute there. And I think we were kind of talking about how I liked what Kelazhur was doing, doing the same thing. I did not see him switch up the build. I mean, it's a best of 5, and I know, like, look, hindsight's 2020, so we're looking at this, we're like, oh, I don't like the decision he made now that he's behind. But to be honest, trying something a little bit different against Snute that has been playing so defensive, maybe a little bit questionable. The Liberator just gets spotted here, by the way. 3 overloads going down, though, too.
That Viking actually has killed a pretty gnarly number of those. Just a very smart play by Snute. The way that he committed and kind of recognized. Getting the Ling inside to see that it's not a Banshee or anything as well is very nice, too, because he was just be able he realized that he couldn't just defend it with, like, throw in an extra spore or something like that.
Yeah.
So Liberator gets killed. His tech is kind of late as well, so he's not going to be crazy far ahead in upgrades. His lair's only just now begun.
Good spot here, though.
Stim finishing up soon. He sees, okay, it's bio. You didn't follow this up with an extra factory to do anything ridiculous like a Hellion Cyclone attack.
Sees everything. Gold base is going to be spotted here as well. That's good information for Kelazhur. Kelazhur definitely behind, but not out of it yet. He's a best of 5, so even losing this wouldn't get him out of it, but you don't want to go down 0-2 against a player like Snute.
No. Oh, you're trying to help him out there, buddy.
Whoa. Hang on.
It's awfully kind
Take
of you.
it easy there. Yeah, the drone wiggling inside like,
no, mother! Did you want this game to be as painful as the last one? No?
What are you doing? And he stops that one too. He's like, man, my queens. They are a Riley bunch.
They are feisty.
They are feisty ladies.
So he's taking these extra bases. He's getting up that gold. His 1-1's very close finishing. Combat show's on the way, though. And by keeping the Hellions alive and not diving in to try and kill 3 drones before they all die.
Yeah, it can supplement the bio behind it.
It'll give his next attack a little bit more punch. And that could end up being big if he's got good target fire. Since Baneling speed's only just started. It kind of depends when his Kelazhur are going to make his move, though. He's still got everything kind of chilling back home.
Yeah. It feels like Kelazhur, if he's not attacking or harassing or in position to start to begin to do that, he immediately falls behind. Like, that's his natural territories to be out on the map. And he lives or dies off of that, too. We've seen a lot of really crazy games. In fact, let's not forget, and I like what the guys were talking about at the analyst desk, too. It was Austin where Kelazhur fell behind 0-2 and was even losing game 3, but it was off the back of aggression and some weird base trades that he was able to come back and win the series.
Yep, and this is a very important moment here as Baneling speed is not just yet done. If he can focus fire down a few of those bad boys, these Hellbats could be insanely powerful. He still has them in Hellion form. He's playing by the cliff and maybe wants to try to bait these units in that direction, but he's not going to be able to do so just yet. Can hit the drones from the low ground.
Gets a couple of creep timbers too, not bad. There's a lot of queens there though, so it's not like the Hellions are invincible in that position. He's gonna have to pull back. And this is Kelazhur at the comfortable state. I feel like when he's harassing and macroing back at home, that's when he's at his best. One thing to kind of note here though, there is no 4th even conceptually for Kelazhur yet. The third was late, as Nathaniel's pointed out, so kind of keep your eye on that, because as the game goes on, the choice might be made for him. He's got to get out of there. Oh my gosh, the health on his medevac's so low.
Hellions are decent against Lings, but not in a situation like this. The lack of Hellbats there definitely hurts, but this, with Baneling speed being done, he can chase very easily now.
I like that.
Kelazhur's forces.
Depot wall there as well, trying to minimize the counterattack. Did save one Hellion. What are you going to do, Kelazhur, though? He's got a double medevac making its way to the southern part of the map. This is where Snute shines now. He did not take losses earlier. He's got mutas coming out.
There's an ace game out of Snute. Has not taken any extreme amounts of damage. He has so much to work with. This army, this is double drop, just pathetic in the face of this force. There is something in the bottom side of the map, but he's already got Lings prepared to try and catch this.
In theory. Unfortunately, the offload's going to be harder to deal with, but... In fact, both the drops, by the way, are kind of being whiffed here. Snute's going to pull back the army. A couple of queens die in the background. Ooh. Is this the opening that Kelazhur was looking for?
It looked like he was trying to do like a little bit of a counterattack or something. A lot of his Lings are in the middle of the map with his Mutalisks, and that opened the door for him to kill those queens by the gold. These Marines are trading out. And then also come to the bottom side. Does snag both medevacs, though. Yeah,
so the cleanup there was super strong with the queens getting one of the medevacs full of Marines. The other drop doesn't get much done, trades out for some Lings. So not bad from Kelazhur. He's going to need more, though. He's going to push out this army. A lot of times those drops are positional, by the way. It's not like direct damage. It's trying to bide time, pull army out of position, make mistakes.
And this could be happening here. He's had a lot of Lings in this. He was like over 100 earlier. Not a crazy amount of Bane Lings.
Oh, the upgrade stopped.
20.
Is it Funka showing us? I feel like it's a Funka observer right now. So intelligent, showing us so much stuff.
So much information.
2-2 for the Zerg versus 1-1.
Yep. It's a very small window. Kelazhur has to be a bit careful. If he takes the fight before those upgrades finish, makes things a lot worse for him.
This is much better position. We were critical last game because it seemed like the push out didn't really achieve much, but you can see Snute
He's going up
not
to 150
attacking.
Lings. He's going up to 150 Lings. He's going to fully max out on this, build as many Banelings as he
Fight
can.
the creep.
And just try to swallow this army whole as it steps forward to push that 5th base in the south side.
Oh, we're going to have a bit of a convergence here. Here come the Lings trying to get a surround. Muta's going to show up here as well. The Widowmine's out of position, but he is going to pull back and fan out, so Snute's going to respect it. Behind this, the gold base going down for Kelazhur as well. And Kelazhur was way behind, but look out for the Brazilian. He seems to be surging back here. Very perilous, though. Losing this army would be devastating. It'd be death.
Insanely large army of Ling Bane Muta here. The random Widowmine. Very deadly, of course, but not really able to get a whole lot done there. 3-3 begins for Kelazhur as he has a planetary fortress transforming on that gold base. That's going to lock down the economy for him to start the death march as he just continues to push forward onto this bottom base and try to crush the backbone of Snute's economy.
Well, he did a good job zoning out Snute, fighting back the creep. When Snute's worried about the army, he's not attacking the 4th base, so that too is established as we got a great shot of that. Ultralisk Cavern is going to be the weapon of choice here for now. Probably a Greater Spire as well, just to kind of give some options there. But he is going to go after the 4th base. There's 2 missile turrets there and a planetary, so he's going to say, nope, can't do it. Got to wait. He's got to look out for those Marines, almost getting the whole flock there. But good attention to detail is Snute.
Interesting the way that this one turned out, with the reliance on the Widowmines as well, not going for any of the Infestor play at all.
But not mega heavy on the Widowmines, to be honest with you. It's like, it's just a few with the army. He's spreading them out. He's being
honestly,
annoying.
You look at that units tab, he's basically playing mass Marines here trying to fight against this, which the Ling Bane Muta style is very good against because Baneling's pretty good versus those Marines. There's that drop, as you pointed out, getting cleaned up. He's got a force in the bottom side, a force in the middle.
Huge commitment to it, actually. I don't think Kelazhur, well, yeah, maybe he just realized it, but like all the Banelings are up there. He's got a huge bioforce over there. Oh boy,
this
does he
be
see it?
Really painful. The Lings come up. He's inside of Kelazhur's base. The Marines are going to be running back.
And he's maxed.
Can't build anything there to deal with
this. He does have some units coming out, though, actually, as I look back.
The final wave or two.
Literally the final wave, though. If this attack would have happened just a little bit later.
When those Marines left.
Oh boy.
Burrow.
The burrow, though.
Uh-oh, is he burrowed on the depot? It's like,
you can't. Can you?
You can't close the door.
Does it stop it? You burrow on top of the depot like that?
Apparently.
Oh, Baneling connections not quite getting there. Is it good focus fire or just dumb luck? I don't know. Kelazhur's going to go after this 4th base. And if you look at the production tab, there are some ultras going to come out, but just some. Kiting backwards, no good connections there either. There's the one Ultralisk, unfortunately, coming out there.
Yeah, Chitinous isn't ready yet either with that +3 armor, so...
Snute put on alert. He's going to take the top right-hand side. But for right now, the game looked to be well in his control, and all of a sudden, it's a little bit even, if not even a little bit tilted in favor of our Brazilian Terran.
Yeah, being able to set the base count even again like that with 3-3 finishing up is huge. the thing you're usually worried about are the Banelings, but he actually just has so many Marines that when that army came in to try and fight, that he was actually able to just kill everything before it reached him.
Oh, this is adorable, by the way.
Just hiding on that
little island,
little cliff.
Up on a pedestal as Terrans would be.
Just chilling, kicking back, sunglasses on. No big deal. Ultralisks can't get me here.
No, it's such a weird. The Mutas are going to try. At this point, they're basically like medevac hunters. Eventually, this does get cleaned up. But in the meantime, by the way, Kelazhur's kind of shifting to take his fifth base, on the lower left-hand side. He's got Liberators coming out 3 at a time, more Marauders, so he's adjusting to the Ultralist tech.
Yeah, the extra starport's very, very important. Using those Liberators to help deal with the Ultralisks. Having that handful of Mutalisks is also something that could end up helping Snute a lot against this, but Drop's gonna hit the top right side. He has to pull the whole entire army over. These drones are on the run. He could try to burrow. He's gonna focus on the Spore Crawler, maybe try to hit that hatch. Meanwhile, the rest of Kelazhur's army heads towards the south side of the map, where it looks like Snute wants to bash down this 5th base in the bottom left corner.
But at what cost? Kelazhur is moving in for the critical underbelly shot here. It looks like that left-hand base will be disrupted, so good on you, Snute, but will it be enough? Because here comes Kelazhur with the full might of his army, is just now going to go ahead and cancel that base. Does he realize the army is completely out of position? Is he going to go for pay dirt? He's thinking about it. Ends up just being happy with mid-control. So he's going to pull back. Needs those Liberators. A lot of Banelings at the front over here. They're going to go for a big connection, but it's just Marauders at the front. They're mostly wasted.
Perfect control. Just grabbing the Marines to move away while those Marauders ate up all the Banelings in control. As you said, he just eats them all. And now he's kind of got this army cornered in a weird way. These Ultras are just chilling outside of his base.
They go to the natural, they find a reinforcement wave, and that's a waste of Ultras. I mean, it is just 2, so I'm not going to try and make this like the biggest mistake ever, but certainly a waste. It's not what he wanted.
It doesn't help when that Liberator count continues to go up. You're not going to be able to charge through this without that giant critical mass of them. The Corruptors are coming out, though, so that's something that can help. He doesn't have a crazy amount of them.
He's a lot of Liberators, though. Now 4 at a time.
More. So there's quite a few more Liberators than there are Corruptors out on the map, so it's going to be very difficult to clear out this air force of Kelazhur.
And Kelazhur's maxed. There's nowhere else to go. He's going to push out. You can make some Broodlords, but because you have been talking about this such a Marine-heavy force, I feel like they can actually handle the Broodlords, especially since there are no Infestors out there. It's really just the Banelings is kind of a trap. Like, come at me that way, and if maybe you can force a huge detonation. There's no tanks really to speak of. I mean, there are some, I believe. No, actually none at all. So even the Broodlings aren't the biggest of deals. Maybe some friendly Widowmine fire.
The biggest play here is the 45 Banelings with this. He has enough Mutas with the Corruptor support to deal with the Liberators. He needs the Baneling connections. Those are big. The Liberators aren't going to be what deals with the Banelings. It has to be the Widowmines, it has to be the splits, the control, the Marauder positioning, and that's where the Lings come in as well.
Great timing here. That's just before the Planetary, and it's a lot of Lings. The top right-hand side is going to get killed. The army is clamping down. We have a huge engagement. There's the Banelings. They're trying to get the connection.
Oh my
the Widowmine shot,
kills about
devastating.
Half of them with that first mine shot.
He's got to make up his mind. He's waffling back and forth. He's going to lose the Lings that had disrupted the lower left-hand side.
He's done 17 Banelings now. That's about as devastating of a loss as you can get. He absolutely cannot engage now. Thankfully, he was able to push him off the southwest corner base. I think he killed the command center that was trying to turn into a planetary. So he bought himself some time there, but 2 more command centers are about to finish up for Kelazhur. He can take that base just outside of his main now as 8 Ultralisks come to kill this 2 drop at the top.
Kelazhur immediately stims, picks up, and leaves.
Press the eject button. Get out of there.
Snute's trying up. Both players looking at their kind of scarcity of resources and realizing they need to start thinking about the expansion. And that's what Snute's going to do. He's fighting on 2 fronts over here, a little bit of distraction force, lower side. Now going after this critical 5th base. He's going to go ahead and start to use the I don't even know what to call it. What is that attack called?
Caustic Spray.
There we go. I have a PG-13 name for it, but let's try and keep it professional, Nathanius.
Yeah. Very professional broadcast here.
Absolutely.
So he will be able to land that base. There is that Ling still.
Not today. You must use a scan.
Might be a Zergling or 2 under there. There he goes. The Liberators are going to be able to kill it. And the Fusion Core being added so that he can get Liberator range, perhaps the most scary upgrade in the game as those Marauders derp behind that refinery.
Incorrect, it's Stim, but it's up in the top 5.
It's there.
Bro,
it's there.
Stim for sure.
You're assuming that you research Stim every game.
Yeah, that's true.
Got him. Picks off the Liberator outside of that.
Some space though too.
Morphing bottom base.
He's like triple expanding. He got one of them that's been denied a couple of times right there. But if the other 2 expansions are allowed to finish and Kelazhur kind of remains a little bit passive here, which I say that very skeptically. I can't imagine he would, but if he did, I like Snoot's position. As it is right now, excuse me, Kelazhur's expanding to be the next door neighbor to that expansion.
I was going to say Kelazhur needs to build more medevacs. He's got 7 of them. They're not all with his army. His army is still quite heavily damaged.
Yeah, 3 of them aren't there, actually.
Yeah, he needs to get it together. Get the rest of these forces over here. This is... It looks like it's okay because he's got the Liberators set up, but 1 stim, and then Banelings will be one-shotting half of his forces.
There's a missing depot on that wall.
Eats the random mine shots.
They're annoying. They're good, but also Snoot's doing a good job of every time they hit him, he brings over the Overseer and cleans it up. So it's kind of a one-time deal. And with the way Zerg units heal, it ends up being not that big of a deal. But here's the Liberator's going to drop the zones. Snoot has been baited a little bit. A couple of shots go in. It costs him an Ultralisk. He's not going to fight that. He's like, nope, not until I have some Brood Lords or something.
And then I look at this. His whole entire army is completely orange, just waiting to die to a few shots. He still needs to be careful. Liberator range almost done.
Snoot can't fight
He's
that.
on the way. And you still can't engage into that many Liberators either. Well, he's going to try to backstab him here.
Well, I love how the Widowmines also act as spots. Actually, Snoot's going to go for this. Here come the Banelings, trying to jump on top of the bio, but good kite from Kelazhur. He does not take that much damage. Ultra's now going to try and pounce on that, but the bio force has been depleted in the... Wow. The Corruptors just destroyed the whole Liberator force.
Yep, he never actually got his army fully healed, so these Marines and Marauders died very quickly.
He's going to take the high ground.
That could reach them, and even with the high ground, he doesn't have to go there. He doesn't have to try it in control.
Yeah.
He can just go for the bottom right base where his only economy is one Ultralisk trying to fight here. Almost want to use the SCVs just to hold that Ultra in place.
Good counterattack, though. Keep in mind, Snute is really only mining off of those 2 bottom bases, so this attack a little bit...
It's not where he needed to be with that drop. If he could disrupt the actual mining income, that would be huge, but he's only got those top right bases to hold on to. He has, as Funko is showing us, he hasn't actually seen that bottom base.
Still good income, though, for Kelazhur. He's down in workers, but I guess in the base count department, he's doing okay. This base is not long for the world, though.
This is a critical point to hold, and he will not be able to do that.
No, his income's terrible now.
This command center is dead, and the army's going to roll up here, try to do something about it. Without the Ling Bane support, these Marauders can kite the Ultralisks.
He's got to go.
But he's just going to run.
He has to do something. 5 more Ultras coming out, by the way. I don't know that I like that call. I think Infestors would put this game out of the question in terms of in favor for Snute, but with more Ultras, as you said, they are kiteable. So it's going to be about those Lings trying to get the wraparound, getting some Baneling shots, something along that line.
Kelazhur stretching himself out, trying to make these pushes and being very hesitant to step onto the creep, has really opened things up in both of these games.
Yeah.
Game 1 and 2 here, Kelazhur was in a phenomenal position, but now he's once again being bled dry because every time he goes out to the front, he's like, well, I don't really want to push in. And then the counterattacks hit. And then
you're not wrong. That's why we've gotten to this 10 spot. But Kelazhur has just knifed into that lower base. He's being pursued. He's being hunted from the back by that Ultralisk army. They're coming up. The Liberator's going to have to reposition. Widowmines are there. Marauders in the front. This is a good position, as good as it's going to get for Kelazhur. He's going to kite backwards. Can he beat these Ultralisks? He's stemmed up to wazoo, shooting through them, but they're just tanking so well. And in the background, the Corruptors destroying the Liberators. So Kelazhur's going to be able to kite backwards, but the loss of his units is devastating.
Death by stim. He's killing his own army, forcing it at this point. The Lings coming in will seal the deal as he has to lift up and fly away. His last bastion of economy in the north, the target, so to speak, for this army. If Snute can neutralize just that bit, or honestly, he can get on the production at this point, there's not really anything left for Kelazhur to do.
Yeah, Lings aren't going to be able to get to the high ground. I was kind of laughing there because he raised the depots, but there's a missing depot spot there, but that means the Ultras can get on top of that base, and it's GG.
Snute goes up 2-0. Another painful game. Kelazhur had all the tools at his disposal. He was going for Liberator range. He had about a dozen Liberators with that army.
Yeah.
And then Snute's like, okay, you're sitting at the edge of the creep. You have a huge flank open on your north side. Okay, I'm just going to go around. He had to unsiege all of his Liberators, and in the process of re-sieging them, the Ling Bane got on top of him, and because he was moving his army around so much and the rally point with the medevacs, by the time that fight started, most of his army was still at like 70% health, and then you stim, and that's another 20% gone, and your entire army gets destroyed.
Really well played by Snute. This was, I like what you had said earlier, just a top-shelf execution all game long. I think Kelazhur did have his moments, but it wasn't because Snute was making huge mistakes or playing really poorly. It was more because Kelazhur is also a top-notch player.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt like it was Kelazhur that kind of had the tempo fall off, and every time that tempo did fall off, it was Snute just gouging gigantic advantages and leads for himself each time. And then ironically, it was when Kelazhur then kind of amped it up after that, but being at such a deficit that the big mistakes happened, like you said, like not having the medevacs with the army, stimming himself into oblivion.
Yeah.
The drop at the top right was really good, but then he pursued into the gold base, which was mined out, as opposed to having a drop at the lower end of the map where those defensive spaces were obviously infinitely more important.
The story of this series so far has been that it is a slugfest, and Snute has done a much better job of capitalizing on the mistakes of Kelazhur. He saw the opportunity to grab that army on the low ground after he lost his 4th base in game number 1. And then in the second game, Kelazhur, hesitant to push forward, but not pulling back to his expansion to defend it, has that army jump him in the middle of the field. And then once you lose that defensive posture, they get right up in there. We have some love for the admins helping to run this tournament to help keep everything going.
You don't see that every day.
Don't see a lot of admin love.
Now, as a kind of interesting mind game that could come to pass, which that's what I like about this kind of stuff. If Snute were to lose this game, it would be 2-1 in his favor, of course, which is still great. But that is the beginning of what happened at WCS Austin. So Snute, who's a very emotional player, one that's kind of high-strung, if you will. He lives and dies off of that energy, that anxiety. That would be an interesting thing to come to pass. Otherwise, of course, he just wins 3-0, and this is like, okay, my revenge is complete. I want to win this thing.
Yeah, the story doesn't end there if Snute is able to take this series, because he still has to, I think for a lot of the fans that are out there, they want to see him, those championship signs. People want to see Snute be a champion again, get that big win, put that trophy up on the wall, take it away from this young punk Neeb that was not making these splashes a few years ago when Snute was on top.
A little bit of downtime between each game, guys. Seems to be just Kelazhur kind of pulls off the.
They have been long games against the players, taking a little bit of a breather.
He's taking a Skype call with his grandfather, I think.
Remember.
Dial it back. You gave way too much effort that time.
Remember. So it's gonna be Proxima Station though. Very large map, very weak map for Reaper builds. Something that I guess we had to keep it on the table though, because we saw it used on this
No way.
map.
I mean, yes, keep it on the table, but no way.
I don't want to believe. But this was one of the maps we saw Proxy on in that TvT series yesterday. And it also completely failed, by the way, we should mention.
I almost wonder if the mind game goes the other way though, where it's like, that would be so crazy, and Snoot's like, well, I'm up 2-0, so now it's time to play ultra safe. So he does a pool first, and is just mega scouting for the proxy, but it's not even there. And Kelazhur's actually going CC first, double CC first, like 4GG style. Remember back in the day when he experimented with like two bases, 4 orbitals?
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
It was awesome.
Just mules forever.
Just make it rain, and then you don't have any units and you die.
Yep.
Feels good, man.
He did stop doing that after he died.
He did stop doing. Well, the problem was he would play against players like Nurchio, who would just roach rush him on one base every game. We are loaded in. This guy has to win 3 games in a row if he wants to make another repeat top 4 finish here at the WCS Circuit. He is your blue Terran player. He is Kelazhur. And his opponent in the bottom left, the red Zerg player, 1 map win away from finally getting back into the top of these tournaments. He is Snute.
And I don't know that this is going on, but jokes aside, if it is Kelazhur just saying, I need a minute, I actually really, really like that. I like that he's saying, look, this is my life. I've been training for this. This guy sent him, well, he and I believe his sponsors and his team have sent him to create a train to be a top performer, not to make it to the round of 8 or round of 16, but to actually win these tournaments. He definitely has that ability. So if the anxiety, if the adrenaline, if it's pumping too fast, we all can wait. Nate and I can crack our mega witty jokes. Pig can be in the green room saying, oh no, over and over again. But at the end of the day, all that matters is Kelazhur and Snute being ready to do the best they can and give it their best shot.
It's so funny to think that a round of 8 finish would be a little bit disappointing for Kelazhur, because we wouldn't have said that if he had made round of 8 in Austin and lost. It would have been like, wow, great result for Kelazhur. And then if he had made round of 8 again and lost in Jönköping, been, yeah, well, he's doing something for himself. But those 2 round of 4s, like, okay, he actually has what it takes to make these deep runs, to beat these big players. And you would say that a round of 8 loss here for him would definitely not be what you would expect based off the results that he's had this year. So he's built up his reputation, and now that pressure is all mounting as Snoot's like, I'm supposed to be better than you. Give me my top 4.
Nate, that's what's so incredibly amazing about StarCraft and the competition that's been going on for so many years is that you can put in insane hours. You can beat the best in the world. You can have the best team supplying you with all the tools necessary and still never get to the place that maybe in a weird other way, a couple other cards drop a different way, you do get there. There's some luck involved. There's timing. There's all this kind of stuff. And then even as good as you get, StarCraft's so competitive and the ceiling is so incredibly intangibly high that sometimes some of the other players just been putting in that much more work or they have that much more talent and nothing is guaranteed for you. So that's what's so incredibly unfair and brutal about this game, but that's why we love it. Nobody's like, I play StarCraft to chill out, man. I'm here because it's so relaxed and calm, cool, and collected, and it's like, what do you do for a living? It's like, well, I'm a firefighter or, something crazy like that. I don't know.
Something more hardcore than that. It's like, I actually just barge into burning buildings and grab people, so StarCraft is therapeutic for me.
I'm in special forces.
U.S. Navy SEAL. So he's opening up with this Reactor Hellion build again, churning out one Marine at a time. It is a Starport follow-up. No tech lab with this, so...
He's going to go back to the Hellions.
Yeah.
So maybe the same thing. Maybe just thinks with better execution, he can do more with it. Map might be better for it.
It's not a bad map for the elevator play.
Okay.
To hop over from that gold into the main base with Hellions.
No Vikings.
Fusion Core. All right. I was going to say, I wanted a tech lab because I was going to say I really like this build on this map. A Liberator Range Rush is insanely strong on this map. If your opponent is not doing anything like a fast 2-base Mutalisk build, there is very little that a Zerg can do to contest this. You don't really have the tools to deal with it until about a minute after it hits. It's one of the dirtiest builds in the Terran playbook and one of my favorite. He's just going to build this Viking. He's going to research Lib range, and Snute will be forced to go for Aspire. If you micro properly, Ravagers won't actually be enough to deal with this, or Queens, or Spores.
I do like, though, that the positioning of where this is developing actually gets whiffed. He sees the tech lab. Is that enough, Nate?
It doesn't say enough, no, because it could still be. Haven't we seen Special go for the Raven build?
Is the Raven a thing you can do here? Okay.
Could be Banshee. Even if you see that researching, spotting that Fusion Core is so important because this is a build that's like so out there. Yeah. And this is really one of the only maps that it works on, so it might cross his mind that it's possible. But if he thought that this was if he had any idea or inkling that this was happening, you would have a lair on the way already.
He has no idea. And this little dance back and forth, actually hilariously, the Reaper there adds a lot to it. Stunning the Queens for a moment can actually make the Hellions win that fight.
And you just chill, regenerate the health, and you're good. And look at this, he's getting the armory.
I love this too, by the way, because he's zoning out what could spot the earliest stages of it as well.
Yeah.
He's gonna whiff on no, he's actually coming back. He's gonna get that Overlord at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, these builds, they develop very well into, if you can get some damage done, very good mech pushes as well, because the Liberator range also means that when you push forward with like Hellion Cyclone, if you bring a couple Liberators with that, well, you're going to zone out anything that can actually kill or kite your Hellions, because then you remember that the Liberator has up to like 15 range with that upgrade.
Roachhorn. I mean, I have to imagine everything that Snute's seeing so far is he thinks there's a big Hellion or Hellbat push.
Yeah, and he's preparing for something that's like, okay, the Hellbats are going to be a threat, but the smart thing for Kelazhur to do is to play with that Liberator at the same time. So the first Liberator is here on this mineral line.
Look at that range.
Welcome to hell is what's playing against this build is like. And now he has to deal with the Hellions at front, and they can still turn into Hellbats, and there we go. He has to deal with this huge attack while at the same time the Liberator's sieged up on his mineral line.
Yeah, this is the Hellbats themselves. There's so many Queens that are going to come down here. They're going to eventually probably clean this up. The drones have to get evacuated. Lings are just watching because there's nothing they can do to help. But keep in mind that Liberator, if the Queens are here, is having a fun time shutting down 2 mineral lines at a time. Drones dying in the background. It's on Snute's face, by the way. That's the look of a person that's like, oh my god.
Yep.
What do you do?
You can kill the eggs and the larvae on the hatch. And you bring the Liberators over, you just siege him on the mineral lines. He can pull back out of the range of these Queens and just lock down 2 or 3 mineral patches permanently.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be in range of Queens to block 1 or 2 patches, and that is enough because the AI for the workers will naturally draw them to those patches. He loses 1. That's a pretty big mistake at this point. You can lock this down forever if you really want to.
He actually is going to lose the other one as well.
Well, he gives up.
He's attacking into the natural, though.
And it gives up a lot, but he has this army that's still out here. Keep in mind there's no 4th coming in, so...
Yeah, he's taking a 3rd behind this as well.
Yeah.
He's turning into orbital right now. Drones, be careful. Drones, be careful.
Don't
Hello.
Go. Don't go.
Get out, boys. Okay. Whew. They're just waiting. There's Liberators forever, by the way, even if we're not seeing it, because our beautiful observer here has got so much to cover. They're going forever. Is there a lair? There's no Spire.
He has the lair.
He has the lair,
Roach
but no
speed's on the
Spire.
way. Well, he's not. Doesn't seem like he's gonna focus on the Liberators too much anymore. He's not really building them. I think you get a reactor with this.
Oh, double Thor, by the way. Did you say that?
Yeah. So this army, you go Thor, Hellbat, Liberator, and the Liberators add in so much extra damage with the Thor support behind him. It's a very beefy, like very hard to kill force because you have so much open space on this map. This map's not quite as much about the choke points as it is these big junctions where the Thors can all fight together. And meanwhile, these Hellions, by the way, just get inside, are able to kill even more drones.
Yeah.
And you see that it's just roaches. So you're just like, yeah, use Liberators to support. You can get maybe up to 4 siege tanks, depending on how you want to play it. I don't think he wants to
too,
pearl.
because he sees that it's just roaches. So it's not that he has to imagine that's what he's facing. He just scouted everything.
If you
There's the
realize,
infestation pit, though.
yeah, if you realize that there's no Spire still, he could take a Liberator and he could at any point go behind the main or natural mineral line and just block it. Like you can hit those bottom 2 mineral patches, the natural, without being hittable by queens or anything other than bios.
You know what, Nate? I got a gift for you. Show him.
What's up?
Show him, Funka. That's not it.
Those, the other.
You know what? It turns out my gift for you
Well,
was a Viking.
you could kind of block those as well. Yeah, the bottom ones. The bottom ones. Yeah. It's such a dirty thing because you only need the very edge of that circle to be on that mineral patch, and it's just like, well,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do, bro?
Well, he doesn't have a Liberator over here,
No.
so that's not happening.
See, I can only say that because this is like the only build I do on this map.
Yeah.
I do love my Liberators, and this is the most broken map for this build. So it's a very intelligent choice for Kelazhur to go for it. But the only things you're really worrying about as a Terran in this situation, the apex predator to your mech builds is going to be the Viper usage.
Yeah.
Things like Infestors being able to grab your, if you play too heavily on Thors, with the things like Neural Parasite. So
Snoot's pushing out here. He has no lethality with that attack. There's no way he can do anything at that third.
yeah, this is what I'm talking about. What are you going to do about this? Not a whole lot. You just cut off a couple of these mineral patches.
He just can't mine there.
Yep. The Queens can push up to this because he's covering more than just one patch. Ever since the damage got reduced on the Liberator, yeah, see, this is where it gets
This
really
spot?
bad, too.
No, the Queens can reach that too, I think.
They should be able to get up to it. That's because one of the mineral patches is gone, but it's still very annoying.
Not bad. I mean, what we're talking about is can get shut down forever. Like, this is mega
I'm
annoying.
thinking about my like Terran like dream scenario where you
Okay.
find like that one spot that's actually impossible to hit, but in a real game you're too focused to actually.
Right.
I would waste 5 minutes finding that spot and lose the game because I have nothing behind it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
As you should. If it was Nathanius against Snute in the quarterfinals of this tournament, I think we'd be talking about very different things.
That'd be pretty crazy. So he's got this big beefy
This
army,
attack, though.
and he's gonna have a timing available to hit way before there's anything out there that can stop him. We have the Hive, but where's
No
the
Vipers.
No Vipers. How, you can't engage this. You can't engage this army without Vipers, or he'd need, I guess because there's so many tanks and so few Thors, he could try Mutalisks.
I really want a 4th base behind this, though, for Kelazhur. There's no anything for that. He pushes and destroys the gold base. That's nice, but Snute is still on 4 bases. He's got the Greater Spire. Now some Vipers coming out. And he's, wow, okay. Kelazhur's just going to back up. He's happy denying that. But the next time he comes out, there will be Vipers. And he's actually going to get counterattacked here in the back. A little bit out of position. The tank's not siege. He's going to go ahead and try to drop that Liberator, but there are now Corrosive Biles. It dies almost immediately. A lot of tanks on the high ground. Never mind, there is a 4th base here too, by the way. So that is what Snute was going to try and slow down. Thor's damaged, but not dead. The Viking had...
He like moved
He
it, but
accepted
it
his
died
fate.
anyway.
Like, no, I accept it.
It's a very tense situation to be in. He has a good number of siege tanks that can blast away and shell at these Ravagers, these Roaches. But as the Terran, you constantly have to be aware. You know, the Thor count being this low means he also doesn't really have a good way to deal with the Vipers because playing without Vikings means your only anti-air is those Thors. Now, those high-impact payload cannons are very strong, but with only 2, he's not going to be able to one-shot any of the Vipers. So a couple Blinding Clouds could actually just win this game for him. There's nothing that can really contest the Vipers in the air.
If he allows it, though, this is a pretty... I like the...
He's got a spread, too, for sure.
He's going ahead and sieging up some of the tanks behind, coming forward. And he's going to walk right in that tank line. Snute got a little bit greedy there. He's going for the corrosive bile on the tanks. Only gets one.
Good use of Liberators behind this as well, supplementing this.
Yeah.
I think some libs with the army could also be very useful to help with those forward-moving positions. But
He took the gold behind this too, let's not forget. So they're on equal bases at this point in time, except gold advantage for our Terran player Kelazhur. So the game's in his position. He's down 0-2 in this best of 5, needs this win in a big way, and he's looking good for it. But here come the Vipers.
The Vipers, the big game changers here. That Blinding Cloud being thrown down. There's still quite a few siege tanks in the back. He is finally able to hit those with the Blinding Cloud. The Hellbats trying to buffer for this army.
And he got some good abducts, some good blinding clouds, but there's just a lot of weathering going on. Supplies are kind of dead even here. Did Snute win the day with that fight? He's going to get on top of those final couple of tanks. The line has been broken. Kelazhur's going to back up, and now a big supply advantage for Snute, and he was immediately chewing up some of his own biomatter to try and refuel those Vipers for this next push.
That's a very important point in control. He's already got the energy back on those Vipers as they immediately went to go pick up some more with consumption, and the lack of the Thors, since all the Thors died in that fight, didn't have a lot to begin with. He doesn't have a good Viking count. He's not even building Vikings, so the Liberators are helping with his harass, but he should be able to just start straight up abduct. These libs are trying to be the heroes of this game.
They're doing a good job. Every drone that dies is pretty critical here. Snute falling down to 63 workers, which is still actually pretty okay. And if you look at this now, too, Snute's adding Hydras to this, Nathaniel. Talk to me about Hydras in this situation.
Well, it's going to be very important for, of course, helping with the DPS down. The Liberators are probably like the big thing that he has to worry about. And I think the real issue is still that anti-air, like wanting to commit, because you want to build tanks to deal with the Roaches and the Ravagers. You want to build the Liberators to do the harass. So you're saying, like, how do I really deal with the Vipers? You have to be perfectly pre-spread. And it's not that easy to do. He's getting the Roach Burrow Tunnel, and now, especially because of the way that this map works, as you get into the longer phases, you have to spread out more and more. He's building these giant walls to try and block.
Snute's just going in there. He's going to grab a couple of abductions, and Liberator's going to join the force here, as well as Vikings. So there is that anti-air. Viper's going down. He's going to just force himself through this. There's no way he can get through that, can he? He's going to kill perhaps the Orbital. Now going for more, but the tank line is connecting. Snute is up in supply and trying to break the back of Kelazhur. He's going to go on top of those tanks as well. Reinforcements coming in a little bit across the map, and he might have done it. He's going to the natural. Where are Kelazhur's forces? There's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, he's got 3 Thors that are about to pop inside of the main base, which will not be enough to deal with the entirety of this army. He wants to move the tanks forward, but they just move command into the Ravagers. That one Roach baits the entire AI of those of that siege tank, so he's only shooting at 1 Roach, gets kicked immediately. And he can try to hold this high ground with 3 Thors. I don't think it's going to be enough with the support of the Hellions. He doesn't have the siege tanks here to deal with this.
Ooh. Walking in the corrosive bile there is a little kind of a gimme. Snute's going to have a 80 supply advantage. There's a couple of bases that were snuck behind this. Yes, he did dislodge the natural. The only point of concern I have for Snute right now is that he is taking the 6 o'clock base, and he did establish the gold, but otherwise, he didn't knock out these bases. So he dislodged the natural, but that was the least mining of the options. And Kelazhur still has an economy. The other thing, too, is with mech, you can get up to that kind of critical army comp where if like just enough Thors come out, just enough Liberators, you can be behind in a lot of ways and win a bigger fight. He's going to have to do it right now, though.
Yep, this spread out, though, dealing with all of this has just been so tough. The number of Roaches is insane. He needs so many siege tanks, but he doesn't have any air game to handle those Vipers from earlier. And I guess he doesn't need the Vipers at this point because the army is so small to defend any one point. The rest of him has to be completely vulnerable.
Yeah, well played by Snute. That was that kind of attack that I was looking for. He's got the big army now, and he dislodges 2 expansions. No sneaky, cheeky bases here for Kelazhur. A nice little run by with these Hellions, which otherwise are not doing a whole lot of good for him back at home with how tanky the Roaches and Hydras can be. Well, not really the Hydras, but the Roaches for sure. And Kelazhur's now going to have to go and dig deep. You're down 0-2 against Snute. You had your push deflected. You had your gold base dislodged. You got to do something special here.
Well, the problem is, without any further investment in starport tech, we see the mech players actually floating gas because he desperately needs to build siege tanks and Hellions to buffer. But with these Vipers, they're going to come back. The anti-air is still extremely limited. He's got 3 Thors, which can one-shot a Viper in the single target mode, but then there's 4 more Vipers in control.
Yeah. And their attack rate, of course, is not the greatest. So Snute, now firmly in control of this game. What is he going to do? A lot of times Snute can sometimes get a little bit too passive, start to kind of tech switch. I would love to see him continue to flex his might. He's got a lot of economy behind this. 62, now 61 workers. So Hellion's going to try and thin that out and make that less of a reality. He's got a little bit of a bank, but not super big bank. And here we go. He's going to push into this. He's got the Vipers coming up behind it. It's just now being revealed. A little bit of a choke point A lot of AoE damage going down, but Blinding Clouds and Abducts combining to bring the teeth of Kelazhur's army up front to bear, and there's just nothing behind this as Snute marches forward. He's going to get his revenge. He's been denied before, but Snute, one of the greatest in the foreigner scene, wants to go further. He's on top of the natural. He's destroyed the armor, I believe. Kelazhur's just kind of coming to bear. He scans the 6 o'clock, sees it's fully saturated, and says, GG, Snute is going to 3-0 here in the quarterfinals.
Very well played series by Snute. Kelazhur came within striking distance of a victory in both map 1 and 2. The third map, the positioning got a little bit dicey. I think he had a very strong opening that set himself up for a potential to take away that third game as well. But Snute just stayed cool, calm, and collected, and he exploited every misstep that Kelazhur took. Every opportunity that there was to grab an inch, he dove for it and comes out with the win. He's on the main stage. Let's hear from the man himself with Smix.
Thank you very much, Nathanias. Congratulations, Snute. Finally through to the round of 4, and especially after Austin and Jönköping didn't go as well as you might have liked, this must mean so much more for you.
Yeah, it's good to climb in the WCS standings again. I think finishing round of 16 is not exactly where I should be. I think if I had a chance to play more players, like if it was double elimination, like I'm sure I could beat a lot of the players that finished round of 16, even round of 8. So I think I definitely belong in the round of 8 at least. So round of 4, it balances things out. 16, 16, 4, it's a better average.
Well, let's talk about this series. I want to jump into Abyssal Reef. It turned into a scrappy game, but it started with you losing your third, you lost some queens, and it was sort of a difficult position. So how did you go from that to winning it in the end?
I got some flashbacks to IEM when I played against Björn, and the same thing happened, and I just lost the game outright. So as soon as I lost my third, I thought like, oh, not again. Like I wasn't prepared for this at all. And I decided that it would be too bad to just give up, so I decided to just keep defending. And I've had a lot of miracle games like that in practice where I'm really far behind in eco, but you can make some magic happen with Infestors and Ravagers, especially at tournaments when people get nervous and clump their units and stuff. So I just did what I could with the units I had and controlled as best as I could, and it worked out in the end.
Well, now that you're in the semifinal, if you want to make the grand finals, it's going to be either Neeb or Special. Now, with Neeb, you already beat him once in the group stage at this event, and Special is a player that, well, you just played on Terran and you beat him. Do you want to play another Terran player?
I think so. I played against Major the last event in the group stages, and I lost 0-2. I wasn't exactly happy about how I play those games, and I think every time I play against Major in practice, the games are really entertaining, they're really fun, so I would love to play against Major. I think CVP is a little stale right now with all the Hydra baneling against Protoss type of things. So I think CVT against Major would be the most fun.
Well, congratulations again, Snute. So nice to see you back in the top 4. And with that, it'll be Liquid Snute moving on to the semifinal.
That's right, Snute regains the power of the Force here and moves on through into the round of 4. He seems back, he's had a good run so far at a 3-0, as well as he's performed here against Kelazhur. Pretty much puts him in very good standing.
Absolutely. I mean, he just earned himself about 300 WCS points. Is going to put him a little bit further, closer to making all the way to BlizzCon, something I think he desperately wants and desperately needs right now. But yeah, really awesome to see Snute doing well. I mean, he's such a hardworking player.
Some of those games went very long, P.
Yeah, I thought he was, after the end of that first game, I thought Snute might die of exhaustion. He looked very tired out there. But, he kept it together. I think the comeback in game 1 was just astounding. He took so much damage from that very first double medevac drop. I kind of thought the game was over. Looked back at the screen. His supply was getting closer and closer. Right. Of course, there were amazing fungal growths in there. Snute just played a great series. And I don't know. I think Kelazhur maybe slipped up a little bit here or there. I feel like in that last game, the Hellbats maybe weren't quite as necessary. I feel like with the amount of damage he got done with those Liberators, he should have been a little bit further ahead. Maybe he should have stuck with the bio play, letting the lead slip away in game 1. I'm sure, Diego, he showed some moments of absolute brilliance when he was behind, but he also gave up a couple of leads here and there. So unfortunate for Diego, but well played by Snute.
Is it fair to say that that series was closer than the 3-0 that is the end result?
Absolutely. I mean, the first and second games, so back and forth. They were all really grueling ones, so definitely.
All right, well, let's check in with the bracket and see what has happened so far, as we have one more best of 5 in the round of 8 to get done. We have 3 Zergs in our top 4, but there will not be a 4th. Don't worry too much, it's fine. As Neeb and Special are going to be going up against one another in just a few moments' time. Fear Dragon, I know you're probably excited for this one.
Oh, I am super duper excited. Neeb, of course, just as nicknamed a literal god. Can always expect some good games out of him. And of course, Special has been doing exceptionally well this year.
Thank you.
It's going to be a good match. I mean, they're always so back and forth, and a little part of me feels like the last 2 times it's been through 3-2, it's been so close, it's been back and forth. I think there's so much excitement that part of me feels like I'm going to jinx it, and it's going to be like really one-sided. One of them's suddenly going to be way better than the other. But I mean, everything shows that it should be an amazing match coming up next.
Well, I believe that Special has been knocked out by Neeb at every single WCS event this year.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah.
That is correct.
Oh, so I mean, this is his opportunity to either turn things around or set Neeb up for another repeat.
Yeah, exactly. So he's one of the best. He has one of the best opportunities, at least, to deal a lethal blow here to our WCS champion in just a few moments' time. Time for a break now, and when we're back, we're going to have our final round of 8 match here. It's going to be Neeb going up against Special.